Erroneous belief concerning the sacred records. It's generally believed and quite frequently taught that the sacred records of the creation of the heavens and earth and all that in them is, plus the genealogies of mankind and the current events, were uninterruptedly transmitted from generation to generation, from Adam to Moses. This transmission of the sacred records is thought to be possible because of the longevity of the people at that time, and that the total elapsed chronological period reaching from Adam to the flood is a relatively short period of 1,656 years. From the flood to the exodus of Israel or to Moses represents a short chronological period of 857 years. The total period of time from the creation of Adam, taking into consideration the long lifespan of the antediluvian patriarchs and combining the chronological periods involved before the flood and after the flood, represents a period of 2,513 years plus 7 creative days, 4 years with Israel, equals 2520.
Okay, so we're going to stop right there just for a second. So this is he drew this little graph here to show you that their lifetimes overlapped. In fact, that's how you get the time that's in the ages. You add up the ages of the people, and then that comes up with 1656, and then you add up the age. All right, that's how you get the time of the ages. All right, the how long the people lived. All right, so you can see by this what he was talking about, how they say that it was went from one person to another. Like Adam could have told Seth, and Seth could have told, and Noah lived the same time as Abraham. They could have met someplace along the way. So it was passed along. Well, the problem with it being passed along is this. If you look at, let's go to Genesis. Well, let's start right at Genesis 1:1. Genesis, whoever wants to. Go ahead, just, you're gonna have to read really loud, I think, if you can.
Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth.
Okay, so in the beginning, now remember, we're trying to get used to using these charts, and it is a little different for us. So in the beginning, Yahweh Elohim, he's going to create the heavens and the earth. Is that right?
Yep.
And this is your creative age right here, the creation. So in the beginning, he's creating the heaven and the earth in the beginning of Moses' vision on Mount Sinai. So he's creating the heaven and the earth, and Moses is writing this down. Moses wrote the books of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And so when he's writing it down, he's saying what happened in the beginning of his vision. He's saying Yahweh Elohim created the heaven and the earth. Isn't that right? And if you read through the books of Exodus 24 and 25, you'll see how Moses is going up and down the mountain, and he's seeing the tabernacle pattern. See? He's seeing the pattern come in. He's seeing Yahweh Elohim create the days of creation according to the pattern of himself. See? According to the tabernacle pattern also. Patterns. Yahweh Elohim's the archetype original pattern. And then he broke himself down according to the tabernacle pattern. All right. So anyway, what you have is you have his recalling from the vision the days of creation. Did Adam see the days of creation? No. See, nobody was there to see the days of creation. Yahweh brought everything in before the man came in on the sixth day. And so it couldn't have been passed on how it came in. That's one thing. All right, that's one thing. And there's other things. And as we look at the days of creation along with looking at the 3 trips into the mountain because they're very important to understand. And it's real eye-opening to understand that there was 3 trips and what he saw on the trips. See, it's really an eye-opener to you because you're going to see something. And then you can also work it with how Yahshua fulfilled those 3 trips. All right, which, we're obviously not going to do all that. So can you see that it could not possibly, and just the fact of, let's say, who's down here at the end of this thing? Okay, let's say the story went from Adam, how he came in, or all the things that happened with Adam. All right, when you have Adam here, see in the garden, and you have all the things that happened to Adam, and Moses saw it in a vision and wrote it down. But let's just say Adam told the story, and then it gets all the way down to Moses. Isn't that right? So it's going through 1, 2, 3, 4. You see, it's going through at least 5 or 6 people.
Mhm.
And anything that you tell that there's not a concrete witness for, that both people are looking at, there's a difference there. When you have a concrete witness, such as the name of Yahweh, you breathe it. That's a concrete witness to every one of us in here. Because we all see that we're breathing that name. We see that it's in Psalms 150 and 6 that we breathe the name. We understand these things. And so we are going to see it the same way. 5 or 6 people in the room will see it the same way. And if we tell people, they're going to see it the same way because they're looking at the witness of it.
Yeah.
But if you're just looking at somebody saying something, passing a story down, it's not going to be the same. Right? And you have a witness in families. And I noticed it just last week when I was with my sister's family. 6 kids in the family. Nobody remembers things the same way that happened in the same household, the same parents.
Mhm.
Right? They don't remember, and I don't want to blame her. And my 3 sons, they don't remember the things the same way. Things are just different. So, and because you're perceiving it, with your own take on it, and really that's not the way Yahweh set up this history of everything that happened in the Bible would be. We're going to all see it the same way because it's going to be witnessed through the law and the testimony, and then Yahshua's going to come in and fulfill it and confirm that he was the one that's going to save you. You understand? And so you're going to have all these things are always going to work together. And it's going to come from a vision and revelation. And you must get that straight in your mind. This thing came from a vision and revelation. In fact, anybody that knows anything about Yahweh knows it from a vision and revelation. And that's the way it's always been. It's the way it's always been. You understand? Nobody got it any other way. It was no secret. It was no special meetings. There was no, you understand? You got it through the vision and revelation. If you know him as he actually is and truthfully says. Okay. All right, keep reading.
2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Okay, so anyway, so we're looking at those verses, see, and it didn't come in, it came by Moses's vision, and he was told to write it down. And we've worked with this many times in this class, but it's always worth looking into how that the book was put together from visions and revelations, that Yahweh came to a man, gave him a vision. He was told to write it down. Moses was told to write it down. And Yahshua confirmed it when he said, Moses wrote of me. Don't think I'm going to accuse you to the Father. There's one that already accuses you, even Moses in whom you trust. See, for if you had believed his writings, you would believe me. See, and he was told, and all the prophets were told that what to write. And I think it's a beautiful thing, the way that the Bible, the way that it was put together. None of those prophets, Moses, none of the prophets, none of the epistles that were written, none of them took any credit for it. You understand that? Jeremiah didn't say, boy, I had a great idea and I had to write down this and I had to write, and Moses didn't do that. He didn't, because boy, I went up into that mountain and I was really something up there. Woo! You understand? Because that's what man does. He takes the credit for stuff. And none of them did that. They all stuck with, this is what thus saith Yahweh. Now for Yahweh to have a book put together like that, and for it to remain through the ages the way that it has, it's for us, folks. It's for us. Because nobody else believes that stuff. This stuff. You understand? It's for us. But he did that. And it's pretty cool. Okay, go back to the reading, please, Zach.
And the spirit of Elohim moved upon. Oh,
He's going to go back to the
I'm
reading.
sorry.
Thank you, though. That's good.
No problem.
The persons involved in the transmission of the sacred records, according to their theory, would be the following. Number one, Adam, the first earthly created man, whose wife was Eve, whose total lifespan was 930 years, begat Cain and Abel, and other sons and daughters. 2, Seth, the son of Adam, was born in the 130th year of Adam's life. The total lifespan of Seth was 912 years. 3, Enoch, the 7th generation from Adam, was born in the 622nd year after the creation of Adam, and translated in the year 987.
So in order to get these numbers, you have to go into the ages of the people that were involved in it, okay?
Mhm.
It's not really hard to do, but I don't see, unless we were gonna really study numbers and have it as a concrete thing to do, it'd just take a lot of time and it would be, just reading it like this is good enough. Unless somebody has a question on it and wants to do it. And you can always do stuff on your own and present it here, if you're, if you're looking like, geez, I'd like to know how you get from Adam to Seth. I'd like to know how you get that many years. Do you understand that we also can do that if you want to do it? But go ahead and keep reading that.
Enoch was 365 years old at the time of his translation. Methuselah, born in the 687th year of Adam's life, was 969 years old at the time of his death in 1656 AM. The year of the flood, which took place in the 600th year of Noah's life. 5, Noah, born in the year 1056 AM, lived a total lifespan of 950 years and begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, which places his death in the year 2006 AM, or 350 years after the flood, and died in the year 2158 AM, or 1846 BY.
Okay. So there was only one verse in there, but let's go ahead and read it. Genesis 5, 4, and 5.
Genesis 5, 4, and 5.
Mhm.
And the days of Adam after he had begat Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days of Adam that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died.
Okay, so Adam lived 930 years. All right. Go ahead and keep reading that in the next paragraph.
From the partial genealogical calculation on the preceding page, we can readily see and understand that Methuselah was born in 687 AM and lived 243 years before the translation of Enoch, 350 years of Noah's life before the flood, and also 98 years of Shem's life before the flood. Therefore, we can understand how the oral or written records could pass from Adam through Seth, Enoch, and Methuselah to Noah and Shem in the antediluvian age during the 1656 years from Adam to the flood. Skipping the immediate descendants of Shem, the patriarch, Abraham's vocation first began to take place about 427 years after the flood of Shem. After the flood, and Shem died 502 years thereafter. Therefore, after the flood, which would make the call of Abraham 75 years before the death of Shem. Therefore, it is quite possible that Shem and Abraham could have become acquainted during the lifetime of Shem and received in the post-Diluvian age the sacred records when some of the theologians claim were passed from Shem to Abraham.
Okay, so you see how what he's talking about? How it would have been possible for them to not taking the possibility away as far as it could have been possible. All right, go ahead and read. Although he said right along, it's not the way it was.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
It was to Abraham and his seed to whom Yahweh Elohim had promised the blessing. Ishmael was the first son of Abraham by Hagar, the bondwoman, Gentile. And Isaac was the second son of Abraham, but he, Isaac, was the first and only son of Abraham by Sarah, his first wife, Hebrew. In Isaac shall the seed be called. After the death of Sarah, Abraham also had 6 sons by his second wife, Keturah, namely 1, Zimran, 2, Jokshan, 3, Median, 4, Midian, 5, Ishbak, and 6, Shua. Pastor to lead Moses led out the land of Egypt and the house of bondage 430 years after the promise was made. Therefore, from the previous.
Okay, you skipped something. Let's, as long as we're stopping you, go ahead and read Exodus 25, 1 and 2, I mean Genesis. And then go back to right after that, it says Jacob, okay. That's okay, no problem. You're doing good, because you read nice and fast.
Genesis 25, 1 and 2.
Uh-huh,
And Abraham took another wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimram and Jocham and Midian and Maiden and Midian and Ishbak and Shua.
okay. So that's telling you that he had a second wife, that he had sons with. Right? Okay, now go ahead where Jacob, did you see that?
Jacob was the son of Isaac and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, whose posterity Moses led out of the land of Egypt and the house of bondage 430 years after the promise was made. Therefore, from the previous enumeration, one can understand why the belief has continued through the years that the sacred records were given to Abraham and were transmitted from him to his son Isaac, and from Isaac to Jacob his son, and to the 12 sons of Jacob who transmitted those records to Moses. This explanation then covers the total chronological period of 2,513 years, plus 7 years equaling 2,520 years, 7 years as the 7 days of creation, reaching from Adam to Moses.
Okay, now this is the crux of it, so read the next chapter for the next. Yeah, here.
However, this belief of some theologians of the transmission of the sacred records of the creation of heaven and earth and the current events of the antediluvian age is disputable, in part because these medieval and modern academically trained scientific and psychophysiological minded theologians see at a glance that if this explanation is accepted, it would immediately establish Adam as the writer of the book of Genesis, in which was recorded many historical events which occurred 5 days prior to Adam's creation. Genesis 1, 1 through 26.
Mhm.
And over 2,000 years after his death, Genesis 5, 1 to 5,
Mhm.
for this reason, in particular, this class of theologians discard the idea that Adam or any of the antediluvian patriarchs wrote the book of Genesis and declare Moses to be the true inspired writer of the book in question. This view brings to light another great twofold complicated question.
Well, let's read these 2 verses. Genesis 1, 1 through 26. Sorry.
You want all read?
Yeah.
Genesis 1 through 26. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Okay, so what he's doing is he's showing by this that all these things that were written in that first chapter of Genesis was written before Adam came in. So Adam couldn't in no wise have seen it. Isn't that right? He couldn't have known anything about it. So he couldn't have wrote what he didn't see. I mean, that's kind of obvious that he couldn't have written it. But yet, you know, you can see why, because people never heard that Moses had a vision. So of course they're going to speculate how the book was put together. They've never heard that it came from a vision and revelation. And even though and it goes on to say that they say that Moses was the writer of the first 5 books. And it's even in your Bible that way. First book of Moses, second book of Moses. They don't know how he got it. They never put it together with he had a vision on top of Mount Sinai. And Moses showed, or Yahweh Elohim showed Moses in that vision, the days of creation come in. And then he saw Adam come in on the 6th day. See? So he was the one that was capable of writing it. And then on the second trip, he sees the transgression of Adam. See? So that's how that came about. Okay, let's go to 25, 1 and 2.
Oh, we already read that.
Oh, we read that. I'm sorry. The next one down and on the wrong page. Genesis 5, 1 through 5.
We read that too, but
We did?
maybe not. Genesis 5, 1 through 5. We read 4 and 5.
Okay.
This is the book of the generations of Adam. In the day that Yahweh Elohim created man.
Now this is the generation of Adam. In the day that Yahweh Elohim. Where is Adam here? Okay. In the day Yahweh Elohim created the man. This he's talking about how he came forth from the dust of the ground. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And how Yahweh Elohim breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. And that all happened in Moses' vision. And that's how it was written down in the book, because Moses was told to write down what thus saith Yahweh to him. But you know what? Adam didn't know a thing about it.
That's right.
Adam didn't know his name. You understand? Nobody before Moses knew the name.
Yep.
And these are things you learn in this school. The world doesn't know these things, folks. See, because they've never had a vision and revelation, you just can't take the Bible and understand what it's all about without understanding, without it being taught to you through a vision and revelation. You understand? It has to be that way. That's the way Yahweh set it up. And so if you just pick up the Bible and read it any which way that you want to, you're going to get a wrong idea because you're going to have your own mind in there. And it's not going to cut it. You understand? All right. So let's keep going, please, with the next section there.
If Adam is to be rejected as the writer of the book of Genesis on the basis that it contains many historical events which occurred 5 days before his own creation, and also many other events which occurred over 2,000 years after his death, the book of Genesis ends with the death of Joseph. How, then, could Moses write the history of the creation of heaven and earth and all that in them is, and the current historical events of the antediluvian age and a part of the events of the post-diluvian age, which occurred over 2,000 years before he was born?
Good question. All right. Agreed.
To further add to the confusion, before we even attempt to answer the great twofold controversial question, we shall state here that there are some theologians and so-called scientific and biblical critics that believe that there are 2 cosmological accounts of the creation contained in the book of Genesis. These so-called theologians and biblical critics have declared against Moses as being the writer of the so-called 2 cosmogonies in the book of Genesis. To defend their conviction,
Cosmogony means beginning, so the two beginnings of the book of Genesis, go ahead.
to defend their convictions, they claim that George Smith, archaeologist of the British Museum, unearthed Assyrian terracotta tablets at the
At Nineveh.
Nineveh in 1875 AD, which they falsely claim are older than Moses, right? Older than Moses' writing of the book of Genesis, in which they further claim give accounts of the creation, the temptation, the Tower of Babel, and the flood, virtually identical with the Genesis account, which we claim and prove were first revealed to Moses. But they failed to tell us when, where, or who wrote these tablets. These biblical critics say that the accounts of Moses were copied from the Babylonian account after their captivity to Babylon. See the Bible and the Balance by Charles Smith, editor of the True Seeker. And see also the Bible Dictionary article on cosmogony by Funk and Wagner, page 152. Also see article on Babylonian mythology from Barossi Encyclopedia of Mythology, page 49.
Okay, so what he's doing is he's just going and giving a couple examples of how they came to their conclusion. All right, and and if you want to, you could look up these books and you'd see that that's the way that they've concluded. All right, now he's going to answer the great twofold controversial question. All right, go ahead. Now this is the important part of it because he's telling you how it is in this one. Go ahead and read.
The great twofold controversial question is answered in this way. 1. Yahweh Elohim appeared to the patriarchs in the antediluvian age and some of them in the post-diluvian age, as mentioned above, long before the time of Moses by the name of El Shaddai. But they never wrote or documented any of their communications they had with him. Exodus 6:3.
Let's go ahead and read that. Because I know it's something that we read all the time, but it's very important to recognize that that's what happened back here with the children of Israel. I find it in my chart here.
That's right after Adam's migration. Is that what you're
My
looking for?
chart had it.
24:2, or like,
Yeah, it's,
Okay. And play 24.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean chronologically.
Oh, there's two.
yes, two
Two
migrations.
migratory patterns. I forgot about that. Okay, great. So we can see this one a little better. Okay, go ahead and read. Whoever has that verse.
Exodus 6:3.
Yep.
And I appeared unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob as El Shaddai.
Okay, now Moses is writing this, and Yahweh Elohim is speaking unto Moses at the burning bush. And he's telling him this, isn't that right? He's speaking unto Moses at the burning bush. We're gonna picture, but it's, same thing here. That's right here. All right, keep reading.
But by my name Yahweh was I not known to them.
But by my name Yahweh, so he appeared back here unto Abraham, unto Isaac, and unto Jacob. By El Shaddai, or Almighty Provider, but by his name Yahweh, he was not known unto them. All right, that's very important to remember. All right, so keep reading that.
Therefore, no man on earth before Moses or at that time except Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, Exodus 24:13, knew the true name of the Father, Yahweh our Elohim, but Moses alone, to whom Yahweh introduced himself at the burning bush in the wilderness of Sinai, Exodus 3:2-8. Therefore, the name Yahweh our Elohim appears in the book of Genesis many times, which proves beyond question that Moses did write the book of Genesis after the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt. See pictures and illustrations on page 13.
Okay, let's get these Exodus verses 24:13 and Exodus 3:2-8.
Exodus 24.
24:13.
Okay. 24:13,
Mhm.
and Moses rose up and his minister Joshua.
So that's when he was told to come up into the mountain.
That's right.
And this would be a second trip. And he said he rose up and his minister Joshua. See,
Joshua,
read,
and Moses went up into the mount of Elohim,
uh-huh,
and he said unto the elders, tarry here for us until we come back again to you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any
okay,
man-
so the point of it was in here though that Moses and Joshua were the only ones that knew the name. There
Mhm.
was nobody else that knew the name. So one of them had to be the writer of the book of, because it was all through the book of even Genesis.
Right.
But Adam never knew a thing about the name, all right? Okay. And you never read in there that he knew anything about the name, or that he said anything about the name, or that he appeared unto him by that name. In fact, he's the one that said, you know, he's the one that said, I appeared unto Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob by El Shaddai. So you can, you know, you're listening to the words of Yahweh when you read this stuff. He's the one that said he appeared as El Shaddai.
Mhm.
But by my name Yahweh, I was not known to them. But people want to argue with you about that. You know what I mean? Oh, he would have known it, and it's written back there, and anything, but that's what he said about it. You know, like I said the other day, he ought to be right once in a while. See? All right. Keep reading then, Zach.
Let it be known that Moses had three distinct experiences with Yahweh Elohim speaking or calling unto him from the mount as follows, and in this order. Number one, the first time Yahweh Elohim called Moses up into the mount and spoke to him from out of the mount and gave him instructions and warnings concerning the children of Israel.
So the first trip up, he got instructions and warnings concerning the children of Israel. And he was told to tell the children of Israel to clean up, that Yahweh is going to speak the law down to them. Is that in there too? Okay, keep reading.
Giving them 3 days to clean up and gather around the mount before he spoke and gave the 10 Commandment law.
Okay, so that was the first trip. Are you seeing what he did on the first trip? He goes up, he's getting instructions and warnings for the children of Israel. He's telling them to clean up and come to the mountain because Yahweh is going to speak down the 10 Commandments unto them. Okay, first trip. Okay, keep reading.
Second time Yahweh called Moses up into the mount in the midst of the cloud, in which he was given the tablets of stone with the 10 Commandment law written thereon, showed unto him the vision of the tabernacle and the creation of heavens and earth.
So he saw a vision of the tabernacle. He saw the heavens and the earth come in according to the tabernacle. You understand? It was really according to the tabernacle of Yahweh. But he came in according to that tabernacle pattern. Read on. This is your second trip. So we see him, okay? Read.
Vision of the tabernacle and the creation of the heavens and earth in logical sequence of 6 solar days. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights.
Okay. So it's the 24th chapter of Exodus. The first trip is in the 19th chapter of Exodus. If you want to read what he said, all right? So this is the 24th chapter of Exodus. This is the second trip. He's seeing the days of creation. He's seeing the tabernacle pattern, isn't that right? See? And he's just telling you what he saw on that second trip. Creation of heaven and earth come in on, and Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. All right? Keep reading. Read 3.
Third time Yahweh said unto Moses, here be 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables which thou broke. And
Okay, so I just want to mention this just while we're on it. When he goes up in the, it is hard to teach about the Moses Torah. When he goes up, when he went up into the mountain the first time and he sees the days of creation, it ended with Adam and Eve in the garden in harmony. See, he saw Eve being brought out, and it ended right here in harmony. And then you got these two, and then you have the transgression come in. So he didn't see this on his second trip up there. In the 40 days, it ended with Adam and Eve in the garden in harmony. That was what he saw in that vision. So when he comes down from the mountain the first time, he's got the tables of stone in his hand, and he waxes hot because he sees them sinning. But he hadn't seen that they would have to sin because there was sin back here. You understand? Well, there was sin here, I mean. So that the children of Israel were going to repeat the sin. And it really is the self-same sin. They listened to something besides Yahweh. That's what the sin is, all right? All right, so anyway, then when he goes up the second time, or the third time, this is what he's reading now, what you're going to see is he's going to then see the transgression. He's also going to see a rerun of the creation. He's going to see the days, you see, he's going to see the whole thing. That's why he says in the second chapter of Genesis, and this is where they get that idea from. All right, go to Genesis 1:1 and then read 1 through 3, and then go to Genesis 2:1. And I'll show you the difference there. You'll see it. You probably already know, but when you preach to the choir, it's just a good thing. Go ahead and read.
Genesis 1:1.
Uh-huh.
In the beginning, Yahweh Elohim created the heavens and the earth.
All right, now this is Moses' account, the first time that Yahweh Elohim had given him this vision up there. This is the first 40-day vision.
Yeah.
In the beginning, he sees Yahweh Elohim create the heaven and the earth. Read on.
And the earth was without form and void,
Mhm.
and darkness was upon the face of the deep,
Mm-hmm.
and the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the
That
waters.
spirit of Yahweh Elohim is going to move. See, it's right here. The spirit of Elohim is going to move on the face of the waters. In the beginning of Moses' vision, in the beginning of the creation. See? All right, now go to 2:2. Now this is his third trip in the mountain. After he sees the transgression of Adam and Eve back here, when he sees the transgression, then he's writing it. Well, read it.
You want 1 and 5 to make the
Yeah,
distinction?
that'd be good.
And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay, read.
These are the origins of the heavens and the earth.
Now he's writing this the second time. In other words, he came down, he waxed hot, and then Joshua was telling him, or Joshua was like, okay, we got to go back up there because you missed something. He's doing it again for him so that Moses has a better understanding. He's got to see the transgression, all right? And then on the third trip, he sees all the way to Yahshua the Messiah. That's what he sees in that vision. See what I mean? That's why he had to have a veil over his face. That's right. When he came back down, he veiled his face because he was so lit up and so on fire from seeing the thing from beginning to end. In other words, he had really received the Holy Spirit at that time. All right, and he was walking around with it. But go ahead and read.
Genesis 2 and 1.
Mm-hmm.
These are the origins of the heavens and the earth, when they were created in the day that Yahweh Elohim made the earth and the heavens.
Okay, so he's saying that he made it in one day.
Mm-hmm.
But it really was the day of Yahweh. He made it within the day of eternity. All right. And that's what he receives on the second 40-day vision or the third trip in the mountain. All right.
Mhm.
Okay. And I forgot where we were. I did so much talking. Go back where you were.
I'll just, Yahweh said unto Moses the third time, hear thee 2 tablets of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables which thou wrote. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount. See Exodus 34, 1 through 2. Moses went up into the mount, and he was there with Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water, and he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. Exodus 34, 28. See also chart genealogy shown to Moses.
Okay, keep reading.
We are here concerned with the visions Moses received while in the mount the second and third times, as related above, which together comprise the book of Genesis. comprise.
The book of Genesis, okay. Go ahead and read.
A, Moses alone, the second time he was called into the mount, as related above at number 2, saw the vision of Elohim, the archetype, original pattern of the universe, in the process of creating the heavens and earth, or the greater and more perfect tabernacle, which is the universe, in logical sequence of 6 solar days, and resting on the Sabbath or 7th day, as related in the first part of the book of Genesis, which is Moses' record of the visions while in the mount, Exodus 24:16.
Okay, let's read Exodus 24. And that's self-explanatory. He's telling you just what he's, there's no explanation for it, other than what he said. Okay. Exodus 24:16.
Exodus 24:16. And the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the 7th day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud.
Okay, so I want to reiterate what he saw. The first trip that he saw, well, the first time he met with Yahweh, Yahweh reveals his name at the burning bush, right? And he tells him, I will be what I will to be. Now, the first trip in the mountain, he's given warnings to the children of Israel and do's and don'ts, right? And instructions to the children of Israel. And he's told to have the children of Israel clean up because he's going to speak his law to them, which he did speak his law to them. And they agreed to it. This is where they married Yahweh at the mountain. See, Yahweh spoke unto them, and the children of Israel, that was before the tabernacle was built. So it was Yahweh spoke unto them. They said, all the Yahweh said, we'll do and be obedient. That's the second trip. So that's the first trip. Okay, so they cleaned up. The second trip, what happens is he sees the pattern of the tabernacle. He sees the creation in 6 days, isn't that right? See? And he sees the Sabbath. But you know, he also saw the book, and that's in there. It's in the writing there. All right. So he sees they receive the 10 commandment stones, and he comes down and he breaks them. That's the second trip. All right. Okay. Allison's going to start with B. Had enough stand enough all night.
All right, hold on.
So I think it's the beginning of the third trip, but here you go. Oh, yeah.
You don't want me to stand up and read to you.
What's that?
So you don't want me to stand up and read to you. I can read from my seat,
You can do whatever you want.
right? Okay. Good news. All right, B. He also thereafter, while still in the mount, saw the vision of the tabernacle. Exodus 25:8-9, 40. He saw also the book written by Yahweh. Exodus 32:32-33, Revelation 20:12-15, and received the law of commandments written with the finger of Elohim on the tables of stone, which Moses threw down and broke. After he saw that the children of Israel had made a golden calf when he descended from the mount the second time. Keep going.
Oh, you want to explain it?
Justin, your mom wants you to explain it. The microphone's over by Zach.
Because we don't want to just read, we want to really be sure we're getting, you know? That's why we're doing it.
Right.
Okay, go ahead and read that again.
He also, therefore, while still in the mount, saw the vision of the tabernacle. He saw also the book written by Elohim, and received the law of the commandment written with the finger of Elohim on tables of stone, which Moses threw down and broke, after he saw that the children of Israel had made a golden calf when he descended from the mount the second time.
Okay, so it's a small illustration here in this migratory plate. And he's going through how what Moses received up there. And so keep reading.
We're on to see.
Oh, right, that was it?
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so, and I saw this reiterate, so he receives the law that, he's talking about that was written with the finger of the living Elohim, you see, on those tables of stone. And how he receives this pattern. It's kind of funny to talk about this because I was just watching something online that was really going into depth of how it really, by revealing this pattern, which is Yahweh Elohim, see, he's the archetype original pattern, you see? And you'll notice some people have like the flip versions of this 40 plate chart, and you'll see sometimes how that plate 3 and plate 1 are swapped. You see, because it's the same pattern.
Yeah.
It's the same pattern. And really, Yahweh Elohim, he's the archetype original pattern.
That's
So
right.
he was first. This is an explanation. And as a teaching tool, it's great to start with the pattern for us, because this is where we're at.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose. That's why in Exodus, we had it read as one of our scriptures in Exodus 24, 9 and 10, it says, let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. You see, it's not just the fact that he's going to appear between the archangels on the Day of Atonement, because he actually did it. That was his sanctuary, don't get me wrong. But what you want to see is that he's the pattern. This is the pattern of men, or the pattern of Yahweh with men. You see? And it really shows you Yahshua, because it's going to show you principles of him. You see? That's what you see out here. You see that, there's only one way. That's because Yahshua said there's only one way. I am the way. There's only one way in here. See, there was a sacrifice here. It was for atonement. He's a sacrifice. He's the ultimate sacrifice, you see? And so on and so forth. I want to stick with what's going on here. So he's picking up these things that are right in your Bible, and we just didn't have an understanding because we didn't know how to read our Bibles. We didn't know that Moses was the writer. I had no idea that Moses was the writer of the first 5 books. That these things that he was writing of the patriarchs, Adam and Seth and Enoch and Methuselah, all the way down. Moses saw the whole kit and caboodle. He got it directly from Yahweh. There didn't need to be an interpretation or a storytelling as we would see it, you see? And we do use that witness, and you try it sometime. It's amazing. When you play that telephone game in a room with 12 people, something gets through, and it doesn't matter how small it is. You think you'd be able to keep the story straight in one room with 12 people. And if you can't do it there, it's ridiculous to think it's going to happen over 2,000 years. It just is. It just is. And it's a good witness that Mom was talking about tonight. So many times you'll recall something like someone you see in high school or something, and you'll talk about a story, and boy, they didn't see it how I saw it at all. Why is that? Or is it because I'm right and they're wrong? Because that's what most people think. I got it right and they screwed it up. No, it's because there's an interpretation there. But we don't want the interpretation according to the flesh. We want the interpretation according to the Holy Spirit. And that's why Peter can say with confidence that knowing this first, that no prophecy, no teaching, no understanding of the scriptures, what's written in your Bible, is of any private interpretation. Because the interpretation came not by the will of man, but holy men of Yahweh spake as they were moved by the Holy Spirit. See? And that's what you come to find out down in school, that Yahweh was a teacher the whole time. You see? And that's when Moses says, and he rose up and his minister, why was there a minister back there with him? Because Yahshua's been the teacher the whole time. He was the teacher. That's what minister, that's why he had a minister. Because like Mom said, he didn't catch it all on the first and second trip. He saw he's having a phenomenal panoramic vision of the days of creation and all the history that's transpired, 2,000 years of history. Of course he's not, you're just dealing with a finite mind, So Yahshua recognizing that he didn't, and it's going to according to a purpose too. But that's why we repeat down here. That's why this is a research organization.
That's right.
Because we search things out and then we intend to research them. Because you don't. That's how it is a good example with children. You don't just show them, here's 1 + 1 and you got it figured out. On the statistics, see you later, or whatever, It's not how it works. It's a great repeating, great. And it's that way. We all need this thing to be repeated, You know, and the Holy Spirit needs these things, that this is how he brings back things to our remembrance. It's not a ooh-ah-ta-goo thing. It's not a mystical deal. It's line upon line, precept upon precept. That's how Yahweh teaches his people. Okay. On the seat.
Yes.
Wanna do?
C.
See.
Elohim told Moses, oh wait, do you want him to read all the verses that go along with the,
Up to you're doing it.
it's up to you.
What verses do we have?
In B, you had Exodus 25, 8, 9, and 40,
Okay.
Exodus 32, 32 through 33, and Revelation 20.
Why don't we read the Exodus? I think we got a decent handle on this. Exodus 25. See.
So Exodus
Let them
32.
Make me a sanctuary. I think I actually said that wrong. I do that a lot for some reason. Exodus 24 is then went up Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 elders of Israel, and they saw the element of Israel. They work with sapphire, so on and so forth. Exodus 25 is, and let them make me a sanctuary, that I may dwell among them, according to all that I've showed thee, even better than the tabernacle and better than the instruments thereof. And then 40 reiterates that. So let's read Exodus 32.
And these go along with the book written by Yahweh. Exodus 32, 32, and 33.
32. Yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, stop me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
Okay, so this is Moses on his third trip. You see, he, like has been talked about, he is now seeing the transgression. He understands, you see, and he's been down. He saw the children of Israel corrupt themselves, go against the words of Yahweh, which really, I mean, that shows the mysteries right there, because that's you know, who was influencing them to build the gold calf. They dragged those things over with them, you know, from Egypt, and it's that satanic mystery in opposition to Yahweh. You know, he says, if Yahweh says, you shall not make graven images, what do you think Mr. Iniquity's whispering in their ear? It's okay to make graven images. How about a gold calf? That would be cool. So he sees that stuff, and now, you know, he's seeing the book of life up here. He's seeing the book of life, and he sees his name written in the book of life. And he, as an intercession, because you know, the Holy Spirit in Moses, you're going to see that nature come through, is you're going to see that intercession work. And no surprise, look at this migratory pattern here with him up on Mount Sinai. Is there an intercession here?
Mm-hmm.
You see, was there a prayer offered up for the people here by the priest? Well, that's he's offering up a prayer, as it were, to the people. I pray thee.
Yeah.
Blot my name out of the book. Now, what Spirit's going to do that? Offer them their life up for the sins of the people. Yeah. What's that showing? It sounds awful familiar to me. The Yahshua, you see, he's going to offer himself up. He's going to, you see, doesn't he say, I go unto the Father? Why does he say he's going unto the Father? Because he's interceding, you see, and I and the Father are one. So he's, and that's really what this whole thing is showing. That's what that atonement up here at oneness. You see, and even the configuration of the ark, you see that it's a mercy seat and the two archangels. It's a 3-in-1 configuration. It has to be just that way, because Yahweh Elohim, you see, and it's written that way on the Moses chart. Yahweh, Elohim, and Yahshua, these three are one. You see, so it's going to be a reflection of that in this tabernacle. Okay, so go ahead and keep reading.
33.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh said unto Moses, whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book.
Okay, so and they did, and so you know, Yahweh gives them the law. The law is to point out sin. They sin. The wages of sin was death. He had every right to blot them out, but it really shows you that saving nature, you see, that's working through Moses that time, because he's as an intercession. Okay. We're gonna keep going in the pamphlet.
C. Elohim told Moses to hew out 2 tables of stone like unto the first tables before he was called into the mount the 3rd time, as related in number 3.
Okay,
Af-
so there's a few things, you know what I mean? This is one of my favorite things to look at, really, because those 2 tables of stone, you see, are allegorical to the 2 laws. You see, are those 2 covenants. You see, the first covenant, Israel could not keep it because it was external to them. It was carnal. It was a outward law, and they even outwardly adorned it because they had it on their clothing and written, you know, here and there, and all, showing that it was outside of them. Okay, it was a temporary thing, and so allegorically, when Moses throws down that first tables of stone and breaks the law, it shows you that Israel was going to break that old covenant law. They weren't going to be able to keep it. That's one thing that it shows you. And then, so with that second table of stone, you see, it shows it's allegorical of the New Testament or New Covenant that's going to be written on the inside. It's going to be written in the hearts and minds of mankind, you see, by the preaching of the gospel and the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. And so by Moses, he's instructing Moses to hew out a set, and it's likened unto the first, you see. And we show how that it's not like there isn't a circumcision over here. It's likened unto the first, but it's not that same law. It's not, Mary Ann says he's getting in there and writing, thou shalt not on your heart. That's not, in a way, the law itself is writing on you that thou shalt not. You see? Thou should. Thou should not, thou should. You see? Because spirit law is what dictates the whole creation. It's not like the spirit law was ever out. You see?
Right, that's right.
It's always been that law. Okay. All right. So Moses hews out stones likened unto the first. You see? Which is like Moses bringing his heart onto Yahweh. That's what that allegorically what you're seeing there. You see, which is showing you that it's an inward job. Okay. And there's a couple of things to look at with this too. When Moses receives that first tables of stone, there's nowhere to put it. The tabernacle hadn't been completed yet. It was 9 months in the building, and if you look at it, that it had no place to put. That goes along with the way that the new covenant is. There was no place for that law to be because Yahshua had not come in and made the way. You see, he hadn't. There wasn't outpouring of the Holy Spirit on a permanent basis. So that's something to look at too. Okay. Go ahead.
After which he received his knowledge of the Edenic transgression and Adamic expulsion and genealogies of mankind, except Melchizedek, king and priest of Salem, and the historical events of the antediluvian age, which none of the patriarchs from the time of Adam could write as mentioned in the foregoing paragraphs. Exodus 34, 1-2.
Wow, we had that right. So that was basically, I kind of jumped the gun going through and showing you the things that you did see. He's just reiterating that what Moses had saw. And it's a great way to look and to prove those 40 days that Adam and Eve were in the garden. You see, and that's where that's where I get this stuff. It's not like that's where we get these teachings is from this vision that was delivered back. That's right. So because you would just never see by picking up your Bible and reading it and come to the conclusion, oh yeah, they were in there 40 days, 40 nights. But when this is opened up to you, when you see that there was 3 trips, you see, and the first trip doesn't have anything to do with figuring out or having it revealed that it was 40 days, because it just pertains to Moses telling the children of Israel to clean up, which Doc called the foot washing. I really like that principle because it's at the foot of the mountain, you see, and he's got told him to wash up, and Doc calls that a foot wash.
Yep.
Now how would you ever get that? How would you ever get that? You see? And that's what we're gathered around, you know. We're gathered around the mount, these righteous principles of Yahweh. We're down here for a foot washing.
That's right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's cool. So, so the second trip, we see that he receives the the vision of the creation of the heaven and earth. You see, or the days of creation, and like has previously been said, he sees Adam and Eve in perfect peace at one minute. You see, that's what you're seeing. You remember I was talking about atonement there? Well, that's what it's showing them. They're at one minute with Yahweh.
Yeah.
They're one with Yahweh in perfect peace and perfect harmony. It's showing you, and it's a reflection of Yahweh pure spirit, of how that he was in an ontological state of perfection. This physical man and his wife were created to show you that. So as far as the physical creation was going, as far as I can see, the Garden of Eden was the way to go. It was, you know what I mean? Everything's in full fruition. Yahweh's provided everything for them. You know what I mean? They're not concerned so much with the flesh that gets us entangled so bad. Yep. Where are you gonna go? See, well, you gotta come down. Sorry, because that's a pattern. It goes out. There's a coming down, showing that he can bring you up. See? All right, so that's what Moses sees, and then he sees so you've got them you got 7 days, and then they're in there in perfect peace, you see? And then he's got 33 days after that with an explanation of the inner workings of the tabernacle and the priesthood and so on and so forth, structure and function, okay? So you got 33 days of them in the garden at perfect peace. Now, on the third trip, he goes up there. He gets a repeat of those 6 days of creation.
That's right.
And then on your seventh day, you see, he rests, and he sees that there's a transgression. And this is here purposely too, you see.
Yeah.
You know, this is an explanation of this. Just like this was an explanation of spiritual principle, you do have things in the creation that will explain this angelic transgression.
That's right.
And he has it that way for a reason,
Yeah.
you see. So he understands that there's a mystery of iniquity. I'm talking Moses now. He understands that he came in and beguiled the woman. You see, he understands that he has the power of deception. Okay. So now you take them those 7 days up until the transgression. You add that to the 33 days from the second trip that they were in there in perfect peace, and then you've got 40 days according to Moses' vision that they were in the garden. You see, and that's how we can run blood, water, spirit 40 for that way. And I know it's not the same as on the elementary chart, but you still can see the principles here. You see, you can see how that. Well, he actually does have it on here. Adam lived 930 years, so you've got the principle of his death there. You see, physically so. You've got the transgression here, so it's in that mystery of iniquity. You see, so in that death passed blood upon all mankind. You see, and then right on the chart, by the sweat of his face, he's going to have to clear the land. That's blood. That's water. You see, and then you've got Michael, that spirit that stays in the way. You see, that's blood, water, spirit. 40.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going there.
You want the scripture or the scripture that went with that?
Oh yeah.
Exodus 34, 1 and 2.
Here, right.
And Yahweh said unto Moses, hew thee 2 tables of stone, like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou breakest.
Mhm.
And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount.
Okay. That's good. Keep going. Let's see.
We're on to D now.
Oh wow, we're just going right through that.
And-
I just wanted to go to the next, headline.
Okay.
So, everybody just go ahead.
Okay. D.
All right, for those online who have joined us, because there's quite a few, we're in the Elohim book on volume 1 on page 11.
Okay, Elohim book volume 1, page 11.
D. Yahweh Elohim spoke to Moses in the wilderness from within the burning bush about Amram, his father, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Exodus 3:2-6. And show,
Why don't we read that? All right, so he's picking up the burning bush. And I'll just reference here. We got a picture of the wilderness here, and then we show how that when you read in there, it's a good witness when he says, "Take off thy shoes, for the ground that thou standest on is holy ground." We can show you how that's the holy place. And there actually is a verse in the prophets too. I can't remember where it is right now. That talks about Sinai, the holy place, which is a good witness to, that this migratory pattern, even with Moses, you see, because he's down here in Egypt, he's raised up in Pharaoh's household, as it were. He kills an Egyptian. You see, that's a death. He buries him in the sand, and then in fear of his life, he resurrects him to the wilderness. So you have death, burial, and resurrection with Moses. So now he's into that holy place. You see, and I don't want to get too off on too many things, but the receiving of the name of the burning bush is pretty, and it's hard not to talk about how that you do breathe his name, and that's coming from your lungs, which is a burning bush or that bronchial tree in your holy place. Okay, yeah, that's right. Go ahead, read.
Exodus 2:2-6. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed. And Moses said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush does not burn. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abram, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim.
Okay, so that's what it's picking up there, is that Yahweh Elohim, through the vision at the burning bush, is telling Moses that, hey, I'm the Elohim of your fathers. Yep. And he's bringing in all those generations there. Okay.
Which shows that the knowledge of the genealogies and pedigrees of the patriarchs was by vision and divine inspiration.
Can't really say that one any better than that. You really can't improve on the things that Dr. Kinlan wrote or taught. He was given a divine vision and revelation directly from Yahweh. See, and it is an honor and a privilege to be able to say anything about Yahweh and truth. You see, and we didn't get it by us, dreaming these things up. We got it the same way Moses got it, by vision and revelation. All right, so, and that's what it's showing you there, is that he received that vision of Yahweh Elohim in the burning bush, and he gave him the witness that, hey, I'm the one that's been with your fathers the whole time. Okay.
Moreover, no man prior to Moses and the children of Israel in the wilderness, in the second month, Ziph, after they came out of Egypt, knew anything about the gathering of manna 6 days and keeping the Sabbath or seventh day rest. Exodus 16:26.
Okay, so it's going on that no man knew about those things. That's right. Okay, go ahead.
Therefore, in the third month, Sivan, when Yahweh spoke and gave the commandments from Mount Sinai, He reminded them to remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Exodus 20:8.
Okay, so he's giving you witness of how that it had to have come by divine vision, revelation. You see, and if this thing just wasn't, he's just continuing to give you witnesses in the book, showing you that these things were instructed to Moses before these guys were privy to it.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
See also and compare Genesis 1:31-34 with Exodus 24:16 or Genesis 2-4
Right.
with Exodus 24:16, which is further proof that Moses, beyond a question, did write the book of Genesis after the exodus of Israel from Egypt.
Right. And so he's really getting in here and he's giving you witnesses on the verses that show that Moses was the one that authored these things in your book, and that it's a grave error of these Bible translators in the first place of putting the Genesis before the Exodus. And it just doesn't belong that way, because you can't have the Genesis coming before the story of the Exodus, which is explaining how that Moses drew the children of Israel out of there. Then he went up the top of Mount Sinai and was given the vision of the Genesis. That's where he got it. Then he was able to write those things. But they're just assuming, these theologians, are assuming that it's all in chronological order, and that's why they saw it in the beginning, and boy, we'll stick that in the beginning, and we got to figure it out. And it's caused a lot of confusion. Because you need to know what beginning you're looking at. You got to know who's talking, who he's talking to, all that stuff that we didn't know anything about until we came down here.
Yeah.
You see? And so just that small thing, I know that we had already went through, but it's a cool thing to look at, and it really is not a bad thing. It's a good thing to teach. I'm saying it's I don't say it's easy, because Yahweh, he's a teacher down here. But if you just keep in mind that Exodus 24:16 is where Genesis belongs, and you just go to that, it's great, because you can see the glory of Yahweh abode upon Mount Sinai on 6 days. Well, what goes there? 6 days of creation.
That's right.
You see? That's what belongs there, that Genesis 1. And it is good. It's good that these things are coming up, because, you also want to look at there were multiple trips. And so Genesis 2, where he's picking off the generations, because it's really a repeat, because he starts right off by saying that it's the generations of heaven and earth. So you can see that that's where that should be at his second trip.
Yeah.
Okay, which is those steps that we had read through there, where it talks about the first trip and the second trip and the third trip. That's a good place to go, because it'll give you the verses: Exodus 19, Exodus 24, Exodus 32.
Yeah.
See, and it'll go in there. So then you can see that Genesis 2, that belongs after his third trip, because that's where he got the explanation of Genesis 2 and on. Okay, all right. So go ahead.
What the ancient and modern academically trained, scientific and philosophical or carnal-minded theologians and biblical critics are totally unaware of is that they are reading Moses's visions as is that he received while in the mount when reading the book of Genesis. For a further and more deep, do you want me to keep going?
No, I didn't know that. It's great that.
And it's all
It's
capital
great that
letters.
he's backing up a lot. I'm just not spouting off up here. I didn't know that's what was next. I didn't study up on the reading or anything. It's just, it's comfort. He is a comforter. It's comforter. And we always talk about when you got the vision backing up. Well, it's not just these. You don't. Not anybody can just roll these things out and then have it backing up. It's backing you up because this is how Yahweh Elohim delivered this information to mankind. You see, they're more than just charts, and they're not holy relics or anything like that. We're not saying that, but it is the vision backing you up. You see? Okay.
For a further and more detailed explanation of the above, see the article under the caption, Yahweh, Abraham, and Moses in relation to the children of Israel. And join us next week.
Okay.
Lynn, Chris, you guys want to do it together? You want to read the next part?
Or today. Make you go.
It's 2 pages.
Read, I can't do what he's doing.
I don't think I could teach it really.
Okay, so you want to read it, and Robbie will get up there?
Fine, you got the vision backing up.
So they can hear you.
He's dressed like Justin tonight.
I was really enjoying the Reese's. Justin, put it, yeah.
So it's- Might be able to get through it.
A is Yahweh Elohim, Abraham, and Moses in relation to the children of Israel. As the time drew near for Yahweh Elohim to make the necessary preparations to deliver the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, according to the promise, he, as El Shaddai, or the Almighty Provider, had made to Abraham and his seed, or Isaac and Jacob. Yahweh Elohim raised up Moses to deliver the children of Israel who were the posterity of Jacob from the Egyptian bondage. The first paragraph.
Okay, read it again and then I'll talk about it.
As the time drew near for Yahweh Elohim to make the necessary preparations to deliver the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, according to the promise, he, as El Shaddai, or the Almighty Provider, had made to Abraham and his seed, for Isaac and Jacob. Yahweh Elohim raised up Moses to deliver the children of Israel, who were the posterity of Jacob from the Egyptian bondage.
Okay, I was reading this last night. One of the things that I got out of it was that this is not the product of a man's mind.
Mhm.
And that's why, that's what we were seeing how that, and when Justin and Bonnie were talking about how Moses got the days of creation, it was through the divine vision revelation. But one of the things that Moses seen in his vision and was the promise that Yahweh gave to Abraham. Boy, it's good we're using these charts. But we got this plate over here, and it says that Abrahamic promise. And what he had told the children of Israel, or told Abraham, that his seed would go into a foreign land, and I'm paraphrasing it, but now Yahweh's making preparation to deliver them out of that bondage that he's been put them in.
Yep.
And that's what it's talking about here. But Moses is writing about that promise that Yahweh gave Abraham. Okay, go ahead and read. And Yahweh's making preparations. So really, Moses seen the vision. He seen himself being born.
Yeah.
You know, he even seen how Yahweh's making that preparation. He's seeing himself being born. See, go ahead and read.
Moses, born in Egypt of his parents, Amram and Jochebed, in 1570 BY, at which time Pharaoh, the Egyptian king, had instructed the midwives, Shepherah and Ah, to destroy all the male children of the Hebrews because they were multiplying faster than the Egyptians.
Now we go back there, and I meant to pick that up, but we had talked about Justin had picked up how that I think you're buying how that before Moses they didn't have the name of Yahweh. They knew him as El Shaddai, or Almighty Provider.
Yeah.
See, and so Yahweh's providing a way for them. He's setting up this way, providing a way for them to get out of bondage. See, down there in Egypt. And it's true that Moses and what he's got is the Egyptian Pharaoh, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I don't remember what I read last night, but the Pharaoh Ramsey the first was in power when Moses was down there and then killed the Egyptian and fled. And then he had died, and it was Ramsey the second. And he's seeing how that the Israelites are multiplying, and he's got this death decree put out on them. And Moses is born at the time of this death decree. But Yahweh is preparing, and it's really, what's really beautiful about this thing is it's according to this tabernacle pattern, because there's a death. Moses was born under a death decree. So really he was, there was life after death, or he overcame death, or Yahweh delivered Moses, see, from that death decree. Because all the other, and I was thinking about it as I was reading it last night, is how, I mean, there was a lot of babies that were thrown in the Nile.
Yeah.
But Yahweh's got a plan, and Moses didn't get thrown in the Nile, you know. And then the plan was so great, then he got called Moses up at that Mount Sinai, showed him a vision, showed him the whole purpose of Yahweh. But go ahead and read.
Okay. Moses' mother, Jochebed, hid and nursed him in her own house for 3 months. Realizing that she could not hide him no longer, made an ark and put him in it and placed it in the bulrushes of the river Nile.
Now, I was thinking about how that last night when I was reading this, how that she hid him for 3 months, and then she couldn't hide him anymore, so she had to build an ark out of bulrushes. And I was thinking how that's the way Yahweh delivered Noah and his family, was through that ark.
Yep.
See, and so he's delivered Moses through that ark. So you have an ark here. I don't know what plate I would point to with Moses, the birth of Moses, but anyway, he was delivered through an ark, and just like Noah and his family was living through an ark. See, the same thing, same principles are going on, really. And through Moses, the children of Israel received the promise of Abraham. See, and I know the ultimate promise was to receive the Holy Spirit, but see how that he delivered them here in the ark, and Moses, he was delivered in the ark, and children of Israel were delivered out of bondage. See, go ahead and read, even though they weren't in the ark of Noah, or Moses, or Noah. Go ahead.
Realizing she could hide him no longer, made an ark and put him in it and placed it in the bulrushes of the Nile River, while Moses' sister Miriam stood in a secret place and watched the performance. When Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe herself in the river, she heard the child Moses cry, and she retrieved him from the water and decided to keep him for herself. Moses' sister Miriam approached the Pharaoh's daughter and asked her if she could get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the child for her. She gave her consent and agreed to pay wages to the woman to nurse him.
So Moses' mother actually nursed him and brought him up, even though that Pharaoh's daughter raised him as her own. And one of the things, I don't know if I'm commentating, but one of the things that's pretty amazing about this is Yahweh's plan to get the children of Israel out of bondage. And so the Egyptians are trying to kill the Israelites off so that they can't overtake the Egyptians. And the one that they save is the one that actually delivers through, it was from Yahweh. But they were kind of, they hang on to Moses, and he's the one that delivers. See, and really what it should show us is how that, and I've been wanting to look at this, and I haven't, but you got that, there's not a whole lot written about the angelic in the Bible, or in, you got a plate with the angelic transgression. But you're not going to outthink Yahweh or outpower Yahweh. See, go ahead and read.
Miriam took Moses to his mother, Jochebed, and she nursed him until he was weaned, and thereafter she turned him over to the Pharaoh's daughter. Therefore Moses was reared up in the house of Pharaoh's daughter, and was acquainted with the Egyptian arts and customs. At the age of 40, Moses slew an Egyptian and hid him in the sand for smiting a Hebrew. After becoming aware that Pharaoh would learn what he had done, Moses fled into the land of Midian in the wilderness of Sinai and married one of the 7 daughters of Jethro, Zipporah, her father. Jethro was a priest in Midian and also owned a flock of sheep, and Moses became a shepherd.
Now, this is pretty self-explanatory, but I'll just say this for this, how the Yahweh delivered Moses from the hand of the Egyptians when he was a baby. And then when he kills an Egyptian for smiting an Israelite, Yahweh gets him out of Egypt and into the wilderness of Sinai, and he becomes a shepherd. And I know it's not right here, but you'll find out that shepherds are an abomination to the Egyptians.
Yep.
And he ends up going back there and delivering them. But go ahead and read.
After Moses the shepherd had been in the wilderness for 40 years, Yahweh first appeared in a vision in the form of Elohim as an angel in the midst of the burning bush to him, Moses, with the rod in his hand. This Exodus 3 and 2, Exodus 4, 2 and 7. And something like that.
Let's read them.
Okay, Exodus 3 and 2.
Exodus 3 and 2. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush, and looked, and behold, the bush was burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Okay, here we got on the migration scene, and Moses is up here raising sheep of Jethro's father-in-law, and he comes to this burning bush. Go ahead and read that again for me real quick.
Sorry. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Now that angel of Yahweh appeared unto Moses here in the burning bush. And so you can see how that, and one of the things from reading this last night, that's how Yahweh communicates with us, is through visions and revelations. And Moses is having a vision. The reason the bush isn't being consumed is because it's a vision. See,
Right.
It's a vision. The bush is burning, but it's not being consumed. And Yahweh appears unto Moses. Okay, what's the next one?
Exodus 4, 2 and 7. And Yahweh said unto him, what is that in thine hand?
Now look, Yahweh, just to give you a little background, Yahweh's telling Moses that he wants him to go. If you go back and we read the 3rd chapter of Exodus, Yahweh wants Moses to go down here and deliver the children of Israel out of Egypt. See, and Moses is giving him all kinds of excuses as why he shouldn't do it. See, and so Yahweh's giving him witnesses. And that's one of the things we want to see, is how that when you have the truth, Yahweh provides the witnesses. See, and one of the things that I've learned, just kind of a personal testimony, is he doesn't mind giving you witnesses. You know, and I have something that's bothering me, and bothers me all the time, and I ask him to give me a witness, and he just gives me another witness. You know, and it's can I be delivered? You know, am I so bad or so screwed up? Can I be delivered? Give me a witness that I can be delivered. You know, and the other day I had these got these pansies out on the I guess I call it something pansy. I guess anyway, pansies out on the porch, and I try to keep them watered and stuff. But anyway, one of the pots was kind of a little bit brown, and it just, you know, had, Joshua, I need a witness, you know, can you be delivered? And anyway, I'm thinking, I better get some water on them and see what happens. And within a couple hours, the brown's gone and they're blooming, you know. And you got to pull some of the brown off, you know. You got to pull some of that off, and that's what coming to class. That's what's going to do for us. Is we get a little bit watered down here, and we got to pull some of that brown off, you know. And that stuff. But I was kind of like amazed. I said, "Oh, thank you, Joshua," you know. But anyway, he doesn't mind giving us witnesses.
That's right.
So, okay, go ahead, Allison.
And Yahweh said unto him, what is that in thine hand? And he said, a rod. And he said, cast it on the ground.
See, and I always think about this, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard this, and I think it was in the, I don't know what the date, but it was one of they had international conventions up until 75. And one of the international conventions, Dr. Kinley was speaking, and he was going through this witness here. And so he had a rod in his hand. I've heard different stories about it, but anyway, he threw it down and boy, but anyway, he threw the rod down. And one of the stories I'd heard that it was a shepherd's hook, and it actually landed with the hook up, but it turned into a serpent.
Well,
This-
in that particular, if you ever listen to the tape,
Yeah,
you
you
can
can,
hear the chairs moving back.
yeah, you can hear a lot of commotion.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it might have, was it on that? It might have been, was it on that? It was on that history of the school.
Yes, it was.
They had some of the lecture on the history of the school.
Yeah, it was 1969, I think. 67.
But anyway, he's given Moses this witness. See, go ahead and read. I'm sorry.
And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. And Yahweh said unto Moses, put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. And he put forth his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand.
See, now look, that's one of the things that, and we were on a job recently and there was a lot of snakes there. I don't know why everybody's so intrigued with snakes, but them kids are out there playing with them snakes, trying to catch it and everything. They're down on these rocks and they got these little hooks and they're waiting for the snake to get in the hook so they pull it out. But one of the things you don't do is you don't pick the snake up by tail, because it come back around and bite you. Yahweh tells Moses, see, pick that thing up by the tail. See, and it's the same thing about this school, or this teaching, see, is you can pick it up, that mystery of iniquity, see, by its tail, see. But actually, you could, the same thing with the truth too. What's being said? See, is it with witnesses or isn't it with witnesses? See, go ahead and read.
That they may believe, that they may believe that Yahweh, Elohim of their fathers, and the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob hath appeared unto thee.
See, now he's given them witnesses to show them that Yahweh did appear unto him. And he changed the rod into a serpent, back into the rod, and he had his bosom, or his hand put in his bosom, come out leprous, puts it back in. And Yahweh's showing him how that he has the power over life and death. See? Yahweh does have the power, and that's why we should come here and learn as much as we can about the purpose, so we can put our faith and trust in him, because he can deliver us from a dead-like state. And I don't know why I want to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But because Yahweh gave this to me this week, I guess. But well, I don't guess. I know it came from Yahweh. But the way you tell if somebody's alive or dead, you know what they do? They see if they're breathing. If you're not breathing, see, you're dead. See, and if you don't have that name Yahweh, you're dead. See, and that's why it's important to come down here to learn that name Yahweh. See, because when you have that name Yahweh, you're alive. See, but you're dead if you don't have that name Yahweh. And that's what goes right along with this, because that's what Yahweh gave Moses at that burning bush, is that name Yahweh, to deliver them out of the death-like state. And you'll find out that anybody that was delivered, see, they were delivered by that name Yahweh. See, is there any more there?
Yep, 2 more verses.
Okay.
And Yahweh said furthermore unto him, put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
I guess I got ahead of myself there. Go ahead, read.
And he said, put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
See, it was clean. See how Yahweh had power over life and death. See, Is there another verse or not? Was that it?
That's it.
Okay, go ahead and read this, please.
As Moses approached to investigate the burning bush, Yahweh Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses, and he said, Here am I. And he Yahweh Elohim said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from thy feet, and the place whereon you stand is holy ground.
See, now Justin was talking about that. See, and you've got the holy place, that Mount Sinai, or the wilderness of Sinai. See, is right in the and lines up with the holy place. See, so that's why he's in the holy place. See, and you find out that's why he had to take his shoes off, because where he stood was on holy ground. See, go ahead and read.
Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob. And then gives Exodus 3, 4, and 6. Holy Name Bible.
Let's read that, because I think this is really important. Because look, none of the patriarchs before Moses knew the name of Yahweh. Here's something else that's pretty important is, and I'm probably getting ahead of myself. I don't know if we've already read it, but I know it's in this part of it. Is Adam, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. They knew Yahweh. They communicated with Yahweh, but they didn't write down anything that Yahweh said to them. See, Moses was the first one to write something down or document something.
Yeah.
See, and it's important to know that Moses, he documented that Moses is one of them documented witnesses. See, go ahead and read that, please.
Exodus 3, 4. And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see, Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush and said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
Can you read that again, Allison? I want, because we used to talk about this burning bush a lot, and this is one of the things we used to talk about all the things that were in the burning bush. It was very crowded in there.
Yep.
Read that.
And when Yahweh saw that he turned aside to see.
Now Yahweh, you got Yahweh in the burning bush. He saw that Moses turned aside to see. Read.
Elohim called unto him out of the midst
Now,
of the
Elohim
bush.
called unto him out of the midst of the bush. See.
And he said, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here am I. And it says up in 2, and the angel of Yahweh appeared.
So you've got an angel of Yahweh, you got an angel, you got Yahweh, and you got Elohim. See, on that bush. But you know, and that's really what we got to see is how the Yahweh is a unity. See, and that's what's in the bush is the unity of Yahweh. See, communicate to Moses. See, go ahead and read.
And he said, Draw not nigh hither, put off thy shoes from off thy feet, for the place whereon thou standest is holy ground.
Now, what's really beautiful about that, Chris just read that out of the textbook.
Mm-hmm.
What she read in the Bible.
Yep.
And what we're trying to show you is the vision that Dr. Kinley had, that he documented in the textbook, is right out of the Bible. See.
Moreover, he said, I am the Elohim of thy father, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, the Elohim of Jacob. And Moses hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim.
Now Yahweh's telling him who he is. See, I'm the Elohim of Abraham. I'm the one that gave Abraham the promise. See, I'm the Elohim of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. See, all your forefathers, that's who I am. See, read.
That's it.
Okay, go ahead and read.
Moses alone, while still at the burning bush in the wilderness, was instructed to go back down into Egypt to speak to the Israelites and Pharaoh. Yahweh Elohim's further instruction and commission or instruction to Moses, and Elohim said unto Moses, Ire, Asher, I will be what I will to be. That's Exodus 3:14.
Okay, what you've got here is how that, Yahweh told, I don't know if it's not on this one, but, he told Moses, or give a definition of who he is, and he will be what he wills to be. See, and, or I as your I, and I know it says I am that I am in the King James Version, but that's limiting Yahweh. Yahweh will be what he wills to be. See, go ahead and read this.
Exodus 3:14, which is in the original Hebrew text, Holy Name Bible, translated, I am that I will to be. Just a minute, I got mixed up here. Exodus 3:14, which is the original Hebrew text, Holy Name Bible, translated, I am that I am in the King James Version.
See, in King James, but I am that I am.
Yahweh Elohim demonstrated to Moses that he would be what he willed to be when he commanded Moses to cast the rod which he had in his hand on the ground, and it became a serpent. Moses fled, but Yahweh told him to put forth his hand and take it by the tail, and it became a rod again.
Do you see how the Yahweh's given Moses as the witnesses that like I will be what I will to be? See, and King James put their own head in there, see, and said, I am that I am. No, Yahweh's proved that he will be that rod, he'll be that serpent, and he will be that rod again. See, go ahead and read.
Yahweh demonstrated other miracles to Moses, such as instructing him to put thine hand in thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom, and when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow. And he said, put thine hand inside thy bosom again. And he put his hand into the bosom and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh. That's Exodus 4:2-7.
You want to read that, Allison?
We did read it.
Okay, all right, go ahead and read.
And he said, Thus shall say unto the children of Israel, I will be hath sent me unto you. And Elohim said moreover unto Moses, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, Yahweh, the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob, hath sent me unto you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial unto all generations. Go and gather the elders of Israel together and say unto them, Yahweh Elohim of your fathers, Elohim of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, appeared unto me, saying, I have surely remembered you and seen that which is done for you in Egypt. At this point, Moses hesitated to go into Egypt unto Pharaoh, who Moses supposed was the Pharaoh, Ramses I, king of Egypt, that was reigning at the time when Moses, slew the Egyptian and fled into Midian in the wilderness some 40 years earlier. However, Yahweh assured Moses that all the men which saw his life were dead, and that another Pharaoh, Ramses II, the typical man of sin or son of perdition on the 18th dynasty in 666. Let's see Revelations 13 and 18.
I thought that was pretty interesting that he sent him down to Ramses II, which was of the 18th dynasties. I know that you could be checked, but he's numbered to that 666.
Mhm.
See, the 18th dynasty. You'll find out. It's not here, but you will find out that the Egyptians have very well documented history, but they don't say a whole lot about Ramses II. Because Yahweh devastated their country.
Yeah.
You know, we're out of time, but anyway, Yahweh told Moses, see, to go down there and deliver that children of Israel out of Egypt, and he gave Moses that name Yahweh. And I just want to say this in closing, that you don't want anybody to take that name Yahweh away from you, or tell them to have somebody or believe somebody that he's changed his name or you call him something different. Anytime you go back and look at the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, they might have not have known the name Yahweh, but it was that El Shaddai or Almighty Provider, but it was Yahweh. that's who Almighty Provider El Shaddai is Yahweh. They were delivered by that name Yahweh. See, and you know that by Moses' divine vision and revelation from Yahweh. And this textbook that was written by the founder here, which had a divine vision and revelation from Yahweh, to say nothing different than what Moses, John, and all the prophets said. And that's why it's really important to come to class and see what he's seen in that divine vision and revelation. I just encourage everybody to continue to come to class and learn about Yahweh's purpose and plan with witnesses. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And thank you. And that concludes class for tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and for tuning in. And remind you that we're here every Wednesday night from 6:30 to 8:30. And on Sundays, we meet in Hornell at Lionsville, 100 Main Street from 10 o'clock in the morning until noon. Please stand for the doxology. Now to him who is able to keep you from falling, and to present you faultless in the presence of his glory with exceeding joy. To the only wise Elohim, our Savior, through Yahshua Messiah, our Sovereign. Belong glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now and ever. Let us all say.
Hallelujah.
Okay, so next week we'll finish that. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say that verse that talks about the Sinai, the holy place, that's Psalm 68:17.
That's it.
Thank you.
So next week we'll finish these couple pages and then we'll go on to so if you have your papers that we did when we were studying the 40 plate chart, bring your papers with you because we're gonna go through, before we start the pattern part of the textbook, we're gonna go through the 40 plates, okay?